Hey everyone, we'll be solving a question called buying orders from Codechef Starters 160. So in this question, you are given n distinct items. You are supposed to buy all the items in any order that you wish, and along with this you are given a boolean array which has ones and zeros, and based on those values you have certain conditions. For example, if the value is 1, then you get two copies of the item if you have bought an item which are with a larger index. And in the same way, if the value is 0, then you get 2 copies if you have bought an item with a smaller index. Let's see how you can solve this problem. So you are given an integer n, telling the integer n the number of items, and then you are given an array of length n with ones and zeros. So seeing the question, you could have understood one thing. So if you have 1, if the value is 1, you need to have bought something after that index to get 2 copies. And in case if the value is 0, you should have bought something before that item to get 2 copies. So the approach that comes to my mind is, if you buy the first and the last elements first, then all the elements either 0 or 1, you get 2 copies. So except for the last and the first element, you can get 2 copies for all the other elements in any case. So now 2n minus 2 is the minimum number of items that you can get optimally if worked optimally. So now if you want to optimize the first and the last case, then you need to, the first purchase has to be bought single because you do not have any purchase prior to that. But after the first case, you can optimize it in such a way that the second case, either the first or the last element, can get 2 items. So if you have 1 in the first index, then you can get 2 copies for the first element by first buying the last element. And in case you have 0 in the last index, you can buy 2 elements for last index by buying the first index first. So the only case where you cannot buy 2 elements from the last or the second, from the last or the first element is when you have 0 in the first place and 1 in the last place. So when you have 0 in the first place, you are 100% sure that you cannot buy something earlier to the first index. And if 1 is there in the last index, then you are sure that you cannot have bought something after that, because that is the last index. So that is the only case when you cannot optimize it. So in that case it will be 2n minus 2, and otherwise you can optimize it to 2n minus 1. So the only condition you need to check is whether the first element is 0 and the second and the last element is 1. So let's code. Let's take the input of the number of test cases and then run a loop for all the test cases, and then take in input n, and then define a vector and take all the inputs of 0 and 1. After that, you need to check whether the first element of the vector is 0 and the last element is 1. In this case, you cannot optimize the first and the last purchase, and that is first and the second purchase for the first element and the last element. So then you will have only 2n minus 2 items purchased. Otherwise you will always have 2n minus 1. So let's submit it for the given test cases. Okay, the desired output is there. So let's submit. Thank you.